Welcome to This Explainer. We are jumping right in today because we've got some absolutely fascinating material to break down. We're going to unpack 10 highly specific astrological predictions from a source document titled The Shadow Advocate. Now we're focusing on a very unique cosmic placement here, Rahu in the 6th house, and specifically its wildly unpredictable impact on legal disputes. If you follow this field, you already know the 6th house is the domain of conflicts, adversaries, those everyday battles. But when you introduce the shadowy, disruptive influence of Rahu into that space, well, all the standard rules of engagement just completely fly out the window. Our source gives us a meticulous breakdown of what to expect, so let's map out exactly how this chaotic energy actually plays out in the real world.
To really get these predictions, we have to pin down what this placement represents. The text calls Rahu in the 6th house the shadow advocate. And honestly, you're going to want to hold on to that exact term because it hits the nail right on the head. We're not talking about your standard attorney here, playing by the book, citing normal legal precedent. Not at all. This placement is entirely focused on generating unexpected legal complications and really unusual dispute patterns. Think of the shadow advocate as this force that just actively bends the understood rules of conflict, injecting a huge element of illusion and totally unorthodox tactics into any legal battlefield.
Because normally the anatomy of a standard dispute is, well, it's pretty predictable, right? You have a clear grievance, a standard process, an expected outcome based on the facts. But a Rahu dispute? Totally different animal. Unlike a standard legal issue, Rahu brings massive complications. You're not dealing with a straightforward breach of contract where everyone at least agrees on the basic premise. You're dealing with a shifting maze. The standard playbook literally does not apply. You kind of have to toss out all your preconceptions about how a legal battle is supposed to work.
So let's dive into the first phase of this, the sudden ambush. The very first major prediction from our source is stark. These legal matters are going to arise suddenly without any clear warning, catching you completely off guard. You're having a totally normal month, business is great, and then bam! A legal notice drops out of the sky and wrecks your Tuesday. There's no buildup, no escalating warning letters, no polite mediation first. It goes from 0 to 100 instantly. And this sudden, jarring start is a classic hallmark of Rahu's chaotic energy. It shatters your stability right out of the gate, forcing you onto the defensive before you can even process what is happening.
And here's the kicker. That ambush energy, it sticks around even when you're trying to fix the issue. The text specifically notes that unexpected opposition may appear right during conflict resolution. I mean, think about how frustrating that is. Right when you think you are finally resolving things, everyone's at the table, an agreement is literally inches away, someone new pops out of the woodwork. Maybe a previously unmentioned party steps in with their own wild demands, or a friendly witness suddenly flips the script. It makes the whole situation feel completely unstable.
Which leads us perfectly into the next phase, the fog of litigation.
The source maps out 3 specific destabilizing factors that create this fog. First, the disputes will inherently involve highly complex, unusual circumstances. We're talking bizarre loopholes, not standard claims. Second, you are going to see severe confusion or ambiguity in the documentation. Imagine a contract that literally contradicts itself in the next paragraph, or crucial paperwork that just vanishes. And third, misinterpretations and totally unclear facts. 2 people will read the exact same document and walk away with entirely different understandings. It's a literal fog, deliberately designed by the shadow advocate to disorient everyone.
And to make matters even more complicated, you might be forced to navigate completely foreign, digital, or unfamiliar systems. You're not just driving down to the local courthouse to argue in front of a judge you recognize. A Rahu dispute might drag you into, say, a convoluted international arbitration, or force you to untangle incredibly dense digital forensics with vanished crypto assets. Actually, it could be an entirely different cultural legal framework that you know absolutely zero about. It pulls you completely out of your comfort zone.
So, the multi-million-dollar question is, when you are trapped in this intensely unpredictable, unstable legal fog, how do you actually resolve it? When the documents are a mess, random opposition is popping up at the 11th hour, and you're dealing with some foreign system you've never heard of, what is the actionable strategy? You can't just surrender, but you also definitely can't fight a shadow using rigid, conventional weapons.
That brings us to phase 3, unconventional paths to resolution.
Our source actually outlines a really distinct 3-step survival guide here. Step 1, just wait. Expect hidden details to eventually surface and profoundly change the direction of the case. You have to be patient enough to let the smoke clear. The real evidence usually emerges late in the game, almost like a movie plot twist. Step 2, Employ unconventional strategies. If the shadow advocate is playing outside the box, you've got to step out of the box yourself to fight back. Standard precedent won't save you. And step 3, rely on absolute persistence, despite all the uncertainty. You just have to keep pushing forward, even when nothing makes logical sense.
Which finally brings us to Phase 4, the final verdict.
If there's one core takeaway from this entire explainer, it all boils down to this quote from the text. Resolution often comes through persistence despite uncertainty. It brilliantly ties all these predictions together. Constant misinterpretations, bizarre events, and surprise opposition are going to constantly try to break your spirit. But victory in a Rahu dispute demands absolute, stubborn endurance. You win by simply outlasting the chaos and refusing to quit when the shadows try to trick you into giving up.
So I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought based on everything we've unpacked today. When the facts are utterly unclear, the system is completely unfamiliar, and your opponent is playing by invisible, chaotic rules, when you're facing the shadow advocate, is the dispute actually won in a brightly lit, formal courtroom, or is it truly won in the shadows, through unconventional strategy and sheer grit? Definitely something to think deeply about next time you find yourself in an unexpectedly complex battle. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep your eyes peeled for those hidden details.